Why is internal marketing so important? Because it's the best way to help employees make an impact and an emotional connection to the products and services that they support and sell in your organization. Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm John Clay, your host and chief strategist, or chief strategy guide, as we like to say here at Better Source Benefits. Hope everything is good where you are. Everything is good here. Quick shout out to our sponsor today. Today's show is brought to you by none other than Better Source Benefits, Benefits Options Solutions. Check it out at www.bettersourcebenefits.com and click on the Get Started, Talk to John Clay link. Well, last week you learned about the 2023 outlook for construction and industry trends and that vertical. This week, you've got to get to know your brand. How about that? We spend a fortune in trying to build a brand. Without a powerful emotional connection, who cares what your brand is, because it means nothing without a little context. And if your employees don't have that powerful connection to your brand, that emotional and total body experience, if you will, the expectations that you're trying to get with your advertising can be undermined with one phone call. I mean, how many of us have seen it? One uh-oh erases a whole lot of attaboys, right? And that's what happens with your customer and client experience if you don't have a good message that transcends into your employee ranks. If they don't understand what you're trying to accomplish with your brand in terms of what the brand has promised to the public, it's a disjointed and a bad deal. And you hate to generate mixed signals from your advertising by having an inbound phone call that doesn't measure up to what you're trying to accomplish on the external messaging. It's mixed messages, never good. Just ask your 2-year-old or your 6-year-old or your 16-year-old. I mean, don't do what I do what I say, right? Well, so you've got to, and that sets the stage for a ton of social examples where people care about and believe in the brand, and the employees are motivated to work harder and loyalty increases. And you've got unified employees. You know, let's face it, Disney has set the bar high. Walmart has set the bar tremendously high. In their early stages, Sam Walton was a go-getter. He wasn't flashy. He was just deliver good service. He was focused on service, and everyone understood his brand and what his message was transcended the entire worker and employee population. Your customers knew what to expect, and so did your employees. But sadly, in many companies, internal marketing is done poorly, if at all. And honey, if messaging isn't done right, the company's strategy and direction becomes stranded, just like on a desert island. You got no help. And when only a few understand, and what's even worse sometimes is when only a few understand what the brand's messaging is, they take it as a given and they fail to communicate it to the rest of the team. And sometimes that's as bad as being stranded on an island by yourself, because you can only imagine what the budget is that is spent on marketing. You can talk about your cost of goods sold. You can talk about the cost of your employee benefits. But huge amounts of monies are being spent on a marketing campaign. And these brand messages are overlooking the internal communications for the people that have to deliver on the promise. That makes no sense, but it happens every day. And I'm sure we can all share stories about how that was the case in one or more jobs in which we've worked along the trail of tears called our career. So the challenge too is that typically your HR people are having to be the ones who deliver this messaging, and they don't have those marketing skills to communicate these visions successfully. So what happens? Company information is shared to employees in memos and newsletters, quarterly newsletters, meetings, and the dreaded, and we can't forget this one, the death by PowerPoint presentation. I mean, how many of us have sat through 60 slides coming away with the top 10? As a speaker I heard recently said, CEO got up there, had all the trappings, had the suit, had the body language, had the right content, had everything focused, had good eye contact. And after he said, top 10 things we've got to get right this year, within 2 minutes, the most that could be remembered was 2 of the bullet points. Crazy. But the employees missed the uniqueness of their brand because it wasn't a compelling story. It didn't have a logical, consequential order in which it was delivered. And the intent was not in there for the people. And this is where you've got to clue in on your messaging to tell people what the company's doing, not to sell them the ideas. And you got to get that messaging right in internal communications so that you've got better understanding and even develop a passion for the brand and the company vision. So imagine enabling employees to live the vision in their day-to-day activities. And when employees live that vision, customers are much more likely to experience the company in a way that you are finding consistent with what you've promised. So let's talk about some things. Let's talk about timing to make it organized and retellable. You know, most people have a limited tolerance for change. No one likes it, and change initiatives come down the pike every so often, and it's another one of those recycled ideas. We've all had the re-engineered or the repurposed or whatever catchphrase it is of the day. And branding and visioning exercises are no exception. You know, you've got certain turning points or kind of a key opportunity, if you will, when the time of company change or outside economic pressures create an opportunity for change, and they can create either a negative or a positive energy. And if you can find enthusiasm for new programs, or on the flip side of that, you've got the dreaded rumors. You know, the rumor mill, the water cooler talk can have a dramatic impact on an initiative, pro or con. And I think that it really comes down to what we mentioned a minute ago, and that is your retellable or your retellability of your initiative within your company. And then that messaging is carried out into the community, into the market as a whole. Turning points, again, back to those. Turning points, again, are ideal opportunities for an internal branding campaign. Whether your manager is trying to direct people's energy in a positive direction with turning point moments like managers seeking to boost the brand internally may manufacture this type of moment. Okay, you have a turning point right now in a financial market. This financial market change is impacting every single organization and every single family. The messaging to internal team members is the same as your market. It's got to be organized and retellable. You know, whether you're introducing a new marketing strategy, introducing new leadership into your company, or a new business philosophy. You know, change does happen. And as our friend Jeffrey Hazlett's known to say, change, adapt, or die. And if you get the messaging right, it's It's money. Just like our title today, selling the brand inside. So let's talk about linking the internal and the external messaging. The employees need to hear the same messages that your external advertising campaign are delivering. Most companies' internal and external communications are often mismatched, which makes no sense because you're still trying to go in the same direction. You want all the horses pulling in the same direction. But it makes no sense to have a different communication line between the two. We have a couple of stories here. Let's talk about one health insurance company, for instance, advertised the welfare of the patients was the top priority, number one priority, while the employees were told that their main goal was to increase the value of their stock options through cost reductions. Well, I'll just go, do you suppose that they offer incredible benefits to their employees? I know a major branded insurance company that used to be a nonprofit as a mutual company that had great benefits. When they were transitioned into a stock company, not so much. Great story, and one that fits right here. You have another major financial services institution told customers it was moving away from transactional experience to more consultative type experiences. And once they rolled that initiative out, within a year, they do a test market survey on all their clientele, and they say, hey, we don't really notice any difference. It's still transaction based as far as we can tell. Employees were still churning transactions that hadn't changed their behavior, and they hadn't even matched up to their messaging on the outside with their new advisor role. Imagine that. So I guess the takeaway here is that tolerating message mediocrity is much more serious than companies realize. And then let's talk about bringing the brand alive for employees. Okay, the goal of an internal branding campaign must be similar to what you have on the external side, so that you have an emotional connection to your company that transcends any one particular experience. And we talked about it 2 or 3 weeks ago about gaining trust and building and measuring trust. You've got to put some trust, make some deposits in that trust account so that 1 or 2 bad oopses will be overcome with the level of trust that you've implemented and put into your trust account. All right. And the right content here, again, builds on that trust. It builds on your brand. And, you've got presentations galore for all different kinds of internal and external experiences, but 70% of that material in most of those presentations doesn't need to be there. In the case of employees, you want the connection to impact the way they approach their jobs, even if they don't interact with customers. So that brand vision in their mind, and to consider whether or not they're supporting the brand in every decision they're making, is the key to the takeaway here. So how do you do that? Much the same way you cultivate the connection with external audiences. You simplify the plan with the right content, the right sequence, and the right engagement, using messages to reinforce the brand into the fabric of their life and to their company. So using stories, messages can be directed to employee touch points, the day-to-day interactions to influence the way people experience the workplace. Branding campaigns are just like anything else. It sounds like research and continues through the planning and execution of the communication strategy. It sounds like it because it is like it. And you're trying to convince your employees of the merits and the credibility of your brand. Designing and executing this campaign should be the marketing department's responsibility, with some input from HR and other trusted advisors because they've got the necessary skills and they understand the context, which is surrounding the external campaign, and can bring that in-house. And they're uniquely positioned to do all of that, to put the whole bundle together. So when we talk about the content, again, just to reiterate, we're talking about the right context, content, the right sequence, and the right engagement for benefits in a crucial company way. And I said that too without enough emphasis on the benefits, because if you can imagine, roll out a new benefit plan without a good marketing campaign or a good messaging campaign, and try to get people to buy into whatever is trying to be communicated. How many of us have seen the booklets, and you come in, you give them a booklet and say, here are your benefits, good luck, and see you next year. And you've got 1 year to digest a 70-page benefits booklet. And, it brings us back to our brand messaging reflective of employees' everyday experiences with benefits. If they're not managers, they may be challenged with on-brand behavior that becomes instinctive. And let's just research, a little bit about that and rediscuss what we're talking about here. Make it organized and retellable. Can anyone remember this one? If the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit. You link your internal and external marketing. And, one of the things that we use is our medical plan plays well with others. And then you have to bring the brand alive for employees. My favorite would be yabba dabba doo. Is your experience for your company and your brand going to give people that stand up and yell yabba dabba doo every day they come to work? Those are the kinds of cultural experiences that you want for your employees, and what you want to get across to your markets outside and inside the business. So to imagine what's possible for your business, I invite you to check out our website at www.bettersourcebenefits.com and click on the Get Started link to book a valuable 20-minute meeting with me, John Clay, your host and chief strategy guide. And I hope everybody clicks on that today, because you'll see what our branding looks like, and you'll know that we're excited in here to deliver the value that you expect from your employee benefits. I hope this has given you some insights and confidence in how to build your brand inside the business. And I invite you to join us next week, same time, 2 p.m. Eastern, on Benefits with John Clay.